security operations on Microsoft Azure using a tool called Azure Monitor. So here, the next 1 hour is going to be about what are the security or what would be the crash operations that you need to take on your hand to keep your web application to be preserved. Either you deploy it on an IaaS environment or you deploy it on a PaaS environment as such. Here is a quite short introduction of mine. I'm the founder and CEO of CodeSizzler. It's a Microsoft partner firm again. We do consulting and migration projects for Microsoft partners, including like Boeing, Accenture, the Avanade team, and other folks like Deloitte and other people. I'm also a Microsoft MVP on Azure for the past like 6 years now. Onto the Azure platform, I give my contributions towards Azure, and I'm an MCT too, and I'm an Azure Cloud Advocate, advising Microsoft on setting up the examination tracks, the global certification examination tracks, and setting up the beta examination tracks, advising the exam questions as well. And I have a 10 years of experience as a cloud consultant, working with AWS more and Azure, followed by GCP too. And my core expertise is said to be on the migrations, ML, IoT stuff, and like the cross-platform application developments and big data workloads. I have just shared my email ID here. You can reach me at feroz@codesystem.info in case if you need any clarifications or if you're looking for any further connectivities too. So with that, I will just set an expectation. The next 1 hour is going to be about implementing the tools to track the system usage, feature usage in the flow. And we are also going to discuss on implementing the routing for mobile applications crash report data and how to develop monitoring and the dashboards where you can come up with a status to be revealed as well. So the takeaway for this 1 hour is going to be on the configuring crash report integration for client applications, developing dashboards for monitoring and status information to be retrieved, and also about implementing the tools for system usage, feature usage, all those stuffs. Let me start here with the very first thing about implementing the tools to track the system usage, feature usage, and the flow. So this has been completely rolled up into a statement as inner loop, right? We go with a terminology calling it as an inner loop. So the easiest way to define the inner loop is that it's going to be an iterative process where the developer performs when they can write, build, and they can debug the code as such. So ideally here, the takeaway is that you need someone who has to be like an individual developer. They need to make sense about the development of the inner loop and the web development inner loop that they have, the code operations that they are performing on with the experimentations. And when you say build, they also need to collect the feedbacks, right? There will be like a feedback collection to see if there's like any build error or if there's any like a package error. Let's say if you have an application which is going to be built with .NET, right? Like an ASP.NET application or something, you need to see if you have any build error on the package level, okay? Or let's say if you have any extension kind of errors that you have. So we will go with that feedback collection in the build, and test is said to be like a debugging process. You have already collected the feedback and you need to get it fixed, right? The test and the commit operations that we have. So this has to be like all way, it has to work with one to one where it keeps on working, right? It goes with an automated way, and that's exactly where we land with something called an inner loop. So in case if the test gets failed during a commit, or you make any kind of code changes, you come up with the next versioning to be released, you need to do a testing immediately, and that has to be available for the customers as well, right? So this is all like an automated way that has to be performed. And to do this, Microsoft has made ways to be much simple, where we go with an introduction to the continuous monitoring. So an introduction to continuous monitoring refers to the process and the technology that's required to incorporate the monitoring across each phase of your, let me say, your development and your security operations, right? The DevSecOps process that you do. So this has a strong touch base with the DevOps, right? With the development and the operations that you're going to perform. And of course, it's going to be with a strong touch base on the security operations side as well. This helps to continuously ensure the health, performance, and reliability of your application and the infrastructure as it moves from the development to the production environment. The continuous monitoring builds with the concept of CI and CD, which helps you to develop and deliver the software in a faster and in a reliable way. So you see, we have tools like you go with the secure, you have Azure Security Center, you can do a threat management, right? If it's going to be like a database, all you can go with ATP, the advanced threat protection. We do have protecting, so you have DR, you can perform backup, you can keep your data to be available on a secondary data center region. So that's going to be like the secondary, right? So in case if a primary data center region goes down, you come up with a secondary DR that would be available. And we do have like monitoring. You have plenty many tools which are from third party, and we do have tools from Microsoft, which is said to be Azure Monitor, that wraps up with different services like Azure Application Insights, Log Analytics, right? So you have like different services which has been wrapped up into Azure Monitor. And apart from that, if you speak about like, let's say you need to check the licensing version of open source tool that you have been using on, then you can even come up with tools like White Source, Bolt, right? So we have plenty many options where Microsoft plays the inner loop starting from migrate and up to the governance that we do with the policy management. Here we start with the very first scratch, which is said to be log analytics that's available with Azure Monitor. Think about like when you run the code, right? When you run the code at the cloud, you need like intelligent logging and the monitoring tools that scales to your needs, and it provides insights on your data in a real time. You will be having Azure Monitor, which is said to be the Microsoft's native cloud monitoring solution. And this collects the telemetrics from a variety of on-premise and the Azure sources that you have. The Azure Monitor tool is said to be a management tool, which includes Azure Security Center and Azure Automation, and it also enables ingestion of the custom log data towards Azure. This service is going to aggregate and store the telemetrics in a log data where you keep it to be optimized for cost and for performance. Down the line, our aim here is to make sense that there will be no crash that would happen on the application, right? You need to make sense that in case if there's going to be an outage that happens in the application, you need to know it in prior, and you have to keep your application to be available either the way for the customers. So this has been wrapped, this has been available. You collect the information from the app, or you collect the information even from the OS that's running on. It might be IaaS or it might be PaaS, and even on the Azure resource like web app, okay, or the logic apps, whatever, and the subscription level of issues that it might happen, and even the tenant level of issues that it could happen. So you collect all the data, you put the insights, you can have a visualization that you can do with the Power BI, or even tools like Application Insights has a dashboard which they present it, and you can also then analyze the data and you can come up with responding for the same. So respond is like taking an action, right? You do auto scaling, or you take an action based on the event grid or event hub or logic apps, Azure functions. You have plenty many services. So this is how this Azure Monitor is going to help us. And to query the data which has been collected, you can use this language called KQL, the Kusto query language that we have. The Kusto is said to be the primary way to query the log analytics. It provides both a query language and a set of control commands that you might be having on. It can be used directly with the Azure Data Explorer, and the Azure Data Studio also offers a Kusto query experience, and it supports the creation of Jupyter style kind of notebooks for the Kusto queries. And here is the core thing which we're going to discuss with a demo as well, the application insight that you have. Application insight is like you install a small instrumentation package in your application, and you can set up the application insight resource in the Microsoft Azure portal. The instrumentation will monitor your app, and it sends the telemetry data towards the portal then. You can also instrument not only the web app service, but also the background components and the JavaScript in the web pages itself. In addition to this, you can pull the telemetrics from the host environments like the performance counters, Azure Diagnostics, or Docker logs, And you can also set up a web test that periodically sends a synthetic request to your web service. The application insight monitors your request rates, response time, and the failure rates, the dependency rate as well with the response time and failure rates, the exceptions that it might happen, the user counts and the session counts, the Ajax calls from the web pages, and the host diagnostics from Docker or any container environment too. This also connects with, let's say if your application is going to be connected with SQL database or Cosmos DB, or let's say even some external service, no, it can still collect the data that telemetrics that it might be having with the connected applications. The application insight further enhances with joining hands on generating alert, coming up with a Power BI for visualization, and Visual Studio again to do like take up an action or call with the REST APIs and export the data too. Here is a quick glimpse of how you can use this application insight. Your application insight is ideally used for monitoring. You set up a dashboard for your team room to keep an eye on the load, the responsiveness, and the performance of your dependencies, the page loads, and the Ajax as well. You can then discover like what are the slowest and the most failing requests that you have, and you can watch the live stream of the same. I'm sorry for the background prayer call. Just bear with me for a couple of minutes. The next point that we have here is that you have detect and diagnose. So detect and diagnose is that when you receive an alert or you need to discover like a problem, you assess like how many users are affected and you need to correlate the failures with exceptions, the dependency calls and the traces too. And finally, the build, measure, and the learn. You need to plan on measuring how users will use the new UX or the business features. And you also will be writing the custom telemetrics into your code. And based on the next development cycle with the hard, you will use the telemetrics to keep it on learn environment. We then have like implementing the route for mobile application crash report data. So for this, we use the App Center Diagnostics. This is a cloud service which helps the developers to monitor the health of an application, delivering the data which is needed to understand what happens when an app fails during the testing or in the wild that we have. The App Center Diagnostic SDK collects information about the crash and the errors in your app, and then it uploads them to the App Center portal for analysis by the development team. You collect the crash, you collect the error analytics too. You will then do the grouping, and you will then give up the attachment as well. So the event is going to be collected before a crash that happens. We can then configure the alerts. You can stay on top of your crash by configuring your App Center app diagnostic settings to send an email when a new crash group is created. So to configure this crash, you log into the App Center, you select your web app that you have, and you can go to the settings. You can just enable the email notifications, and you can select the box that will be available next to the crash. Here is about creating a bug tracker. This you can find it when it goes to the DevOps environment. You can integrate third-party bug tracker tools as well with the App Center to stay informed and better manage your crashes too. The App Center has bug tracker integration for the crash service, and the users can be quickly informed about critical App Center events within the tools that you use regularly in your day-to-day flow for a seamless experience. The App Center supports bug trackers like Jira, and you also have like Azure DevOps and GitHub that's available. We finally have like develop monitoring and status dashboards. So you have Azure dashboard that's available. You see, you have like predefined templates and the visualization that goes on with the chart and the graphs, which can help you to analyze your monitoring data to drill down on issues and identify the patterns too. So depending on the tool you use, you may also have the option to share visualization with other users inside and outside of your organization. The primary use of this dashboard is like it's practically helpful for you to provide a single pane with the Azure infrastructure information to be collected and the services that allows you to quickly identify and come up with the important issues too. We then have the designer. We have the designer in Azure Monitor. So here the designer is going to be like it provides a rich visualization for log data. It also exports and imports views to transfer them to other results group and subscription. It provides you with the limitations like no automatic refresh or limited layout options to be provided then. So with all these things, let's stick on to a demo and we will make sense about how we can monitor the application performance using this app insight. So here in this lab, you will learn how you can add the application insight to an existing web application and the security operations that you can do, like monitoring the application, taking a step for crash reports, right? And monitoring the performance, right? Those things would be covered here. This lab is going to take us like another 45 minutes of time. And I will hold on to your questions. You can keep me pinged on the chat, probably by the time of provisioning the service or during like the last 5 minutes of time, I'll stick on to your questions to get it clarified. Let's go here with the Azure portal. See, I have my Azure portal here. And thereon, give me a minute. Yep. So here in this portal, I'm going to work with, let's say like developing an Azure App Service, right? A web app to be deployed with Azure App Service and generating and monitoring the Azure web app application traffic using the app insights to be connected with and investigating the data that we have with the app insight. So for this, the very first basic thing that I need is that I need to deploy some web application. So let's go with DevOps environment. Okay, I will pick up my Azure DevOps demo generator and I'll say sign in here. See, I have signed in to my account and let's use the same monitoring application performance with DevSecOps. Okay, and it's going to be ICSS 2021. Organization, I will use the organization ICSS 2021. And you can say choose the template then. It's getting loaded. Hold on. Yeah, you can say choose the template and you can find the Parts Unlimited template that's available. The takeaway that I need is that I just need to deploy an Azure web app, right? So let me use this Parts Unlimited and let's say select template and we create the project now. Let this get created and in the meantime, I will try going up with my web app to be deployed to. Okay. So let's go to the Azure portal. And I would say I need to create a web app with a SQL connectivity. So click on create a resource and you can say web app plus SQL. Right, let's click on create. Let me give up a name here. So ICSS, let's say courses. And the resource group, it's going to be the same. Let me give up a name ending up with resource group alone. And then let's click on OK. And we then create like an app service plan for the same. So let's deploy an app service plan. You can give some valid name for this app service plan. You say create new. And you give up an app service plan name here. So let me say codes or ICSS apps. Location, I would go with a nearby data center location for me, or I will even use like East US, which is said to be a quite powerful one, and a shared app service. We will then go for deploying the database. So you can give a DB name. Let's select the database, create a new database. The DB name will be Parts Unlimited. And let's give up a server as well. So click on target server and give up a unique name again. I'll say ICSS and user, okay, system admin. East US again. Let's click on select. So you see here we have the DB, the location, and we are allowing the Azure services as well. And we have like a pricing tier. You can leave these things to be default. Okay. And let's click on select now. I hope you can see here we have the application insight which has been turned on, right? You have a new name which has been given for the application insight, which is said to be ICSS Code Sizzler. And now I'll be going up to create this. I'll just click on create to get this application insight to be created. You can even go, see, click on app insights. You can find that this has been enabled. And let me say it is supposed to be with .NET. Okay, go with .NET. Let's say the collection level. Let's go with the recommended one in the profiler section. I will also keep this to be turned on to collect the, can you see this? It collects the traces that you have in the code. So let's keep this to be turned on and I will click on apply then. The top of it, I'm going to click on create. So I'm creating a web app and here I have created a project as well. Okay, where I have my source code and I'm going to deploy this. Okay, I will deploy this source code towards the web app which we have created then. Let's here go for pipelines. So if you go for the pipelines here and you can select the release. You find the Paths Unlimited E2E. You click on edit for this. And thereon, you can find like we have multiple phases. We have dev, you have quality assurance, and you do have like the production that's available. So here I no need this dev. Okay, I can probably go up here. I can see that I'll remove this dev that we have. So let's go for the dev point and we will try removing this. You click on delete for the dev and click on confirm. Right, and you then have the quality assurance. You can select the quality assurance as well. I just need to directly deploy this for the production one. So let me say delete and I'll remove this. And we will go for the production. You can directly deploy this for the production one. Okay, so you see the code that we have, and I'm going to deploy this towards the production environment. I'll click on the one job and the task that we have. You have the production, and you can configure this with the subscription that we have. So go here, call the subscription. It's getting loaded. Just hold on. Yeah, can you see this? Azure Pass sponsorship. It starts with 3D something. Let me check the ID. Yeah, the same here. You can click on authorize then. Let me sign in. Okay, you have it getting authorized. So this is something which we were discussing on the inner loop, the CI and the CD that we do. Okay, there we go. And you have the app type, which is said to be the web app that we have. Now, okay, it's all good. You have the production which has been configured. We can then go like, you can put up the variables thing. Okay. So let's go with the pipeline. You can find the pipelines. Oh, let me see. It's J. Configure this. Is there anything else which we haven't configured? Okay, that's good. Let's go to the pipeline now. And here in the pipeline, I will go for the pre-deployment conditions. You see here we have the pre-deployment conditions for the production environment. So let me select this. And here for the trigger, I will say after the release what it has to do as such. So let's select after release for this. And again, you can go to the variables then. So let's close this. You can go to the variables. And there in the variable part, you can put up the website name and everything. You see here we have the website name, okay, and it's going to be the same website name, which has to match with the Azure App Service that we created. So you remove this, and you see the web app which we created can be seen here. ICSS Code Sizzler. The name is ICSS Code Sizzler. So you take a note of this. And we need to give the same over here. I hope you're getting it now. The hosting plan, okay, and the web app, all those things, it should reflect the same of what we created in the previous part. So my website name variable matches the Azure App Service which we created. And let's then click on save. Now let's go to the repos. You see we have the repos here. Let's open up repos then. And thereon, you find the code that's available. So you have paths unlimited, and you do have like a web file that would be available within the source. Can you see this? We have the web.config. So I repeat, go for paths unlimited website and open this web.config file. And you scroll down, you have like the application insights with the instrumentation key. Can you see this? And you have the value which has been given up here. So this connects with the application insight. Okay. And we do have like the connection strings. You scroll down, you can find the default connection strings that you have, connecting it with database as well. You remember we created a DB2. Okay. And thereon, you can click on like edit. And let's just enter like an empty line here. And I'll say commit then. So click on commit. So we are performing the inner loop now. So click commit then again. So now let's go. You can find that the commit operation is happening. You go to the pipelines, right? You see it's happening here. You can follow up with the process, right? The differentiating process that we have. Let's wait for this deployment to be completed. In the meantime, I hope you can see that this is like Azure DevOps now. So you have the test assemblies, the testing happens by default too. The build operation performs now. You see it gets the files to be copied, and followed by that we'll be having the test assemblies to be performed. Well, there we go. So this has been completed. You go to the pipeline. This is all like warning that we have. And the phase one, you find the status which is said to be succeeded, right? So in the production that we have. So end of the day, you can find the result here. In case if it gets failed, you get the result as well, which gets published too. Now let's go to the web app. I'll say browse for this web application. Right, this is the web app that you have. And you can go, you configure the application inside too. So scroll down here, you can find the application insights that's available. Or the other way is that you go to the settings, you click on the configuration, and you can find the application settings here. It's getting loaded, give me a minute. Right, you see here we have the application setting, and you have the application insights instrumentation key. So you can try like you click here and you can copy the values that we have here, right? Can you see this? You can click on just say show values and you can just copy this. I will take a note of this onto my notepad. Give me a minute. Let's select this application insights instrumentation and let's take a note of this value. And let's click on cancel then. Now let's say a new application setting to be added up. And the name, I will say keys, application insights. And let's paste the value. So not just the application insight, but also the instrumentation key that we have. So I'll type that. Let's give up instrumentation key and I'll click on OK for this. So we are creating a new stuff here. Okay, a new application insight stuff here. And we will also go for the app service to with the connection strings. Okay, so here in the configuration blade, you scroll down, you can find the connection string that we have. You can click on the default connection and you can copy again the value that we have here. So in this blade where you have add and edit, okay, you just remove the name and replace it with like the default connection string. And you have to have the value. Let's leave the default that you have and you can click on OK. So this is to collect the data, okay, with the SQL database that we have. And once when you're done with these things, you can go to the pipelines, okay, and you can find the entry that represents the build pipeline for you. So let me click on save for this, click on continue and go to the pipelines here. Go to the release, you see the release one, which is available. Okay. And here you're going to follow the release one to push it towards the production environment then. So you go, you can click on the overview then, okay, you can say like deploy, you can deploy with multiple times, or you can even publish it and you can find the results then. So let's go try this. Loading up again. You can even try hitting the URL. It takes a quite time for the first login. Can you see this? We have the web app, which is said to be Paths Unlimited now. Okay, so until now, we have deployed a web app. The point here is that how the security operation gets involved, right? Let's say some crash that happens on your application or some invalid URL that gets pinged across. So let me go up here. I will click on the different pages that we have. I will go to the brakes. I will go for lighting, and I will go for wheels and tires, batteries, oil, right? Let's go for all these steps. This generates traffic. I hope you're getting it, no? This generates traffic for us, and that gets added towards the application insight, which we represent. You can also try like adding a, let's say for example, see, I will go to the brakes, and you get all the brakes menu item that's available here. And at the end, no, instead of this one, let me add another one, and you get an error. I'll try pinging this several times so that it gets added towards the application side. So the point is that the blade includes with the settings where you have some crash report that gets added to. So this will trigger a server error since the category does not exist for you. You can try like going up, refreshing the page for a number of times. See, I'll try refreshing this for a number of times. And let's go to the Azure portal. You see we have the app insight, no? Click on the application insight. And you can say view the application insight data then. And we have all the settings. See, you have server response time, failed request. Can you see this? The failed request that we have, it gives 20 as a count. You also get the server request, the availability of the application all. As we discussed earlier, any severity that you have, you can also manage the metrics, and you get like the different plates where you can investigate to. I hope you can see this. We have the application map. The application map helps you to spot the performance bottlenecks or the failure with the hotspots across like all components of your distributed application. Each node on the map will represent an application component or its dependencies with a health alerts that you have. And followed by that, you find the smart detection. Smart detection will automatically warn you with the potential performance problems that you will be having in your web application. This performs proactive analysis of the telemetry that your app sends to the application insight. And if there's a sudden rise in the failure rates or any abnormal patterns in the client or server performance, you get an alert there. This feature needs no configuration. It operates if your application sends enough telemetrics for it. And then we have the live metrics. This enables you to probe the beating heart of your live in production web application, and you can select and filter metrics and performance counter to watch the real time. So this does not impact to your service, and you can also inspect the stack traces from sample failed requests and the exceptions. So followed by that, you too have you can see we have the transition search and everything. You see the smart detection, which gives you like the generated reports, no CPU total, the expectation rate, and even if there's like a failure that's available, you can find here it gets represented there. You then have the transition search. You can find here the transition search is where it provides a flexible interface to locate the exact telemetry you need to answer the questions as such. So this will collect you can see all the data in last 24 hours, and the result includes all the telemetrics data, which can be filtered down with multiple properties here. You then have the group results, and you can view the telemetrics and everything over here. So this is simply how the application insight works. You can also go with splitting, or you can track the application usage. Okay, you see I have the overview here, and I can go to the application dashboard. It gets loaded. You can find it here. So there we go. You have the live stream, and you have the users, the usage, the responsiveness. So this is the dashboard which we were discussing on. So in case if there's like you want to keep your application to be secured, and if like a crash report that happens, or if there's like an outage that happens on your application with a failed request, you can get it visualized here. You can still take up an action. You see here, you go to the web app. I'll go to the resource groups, and let's go to the web app here. Can you find this? We have the web app. You scroll down here, you can find have alerts, and there on that alert you can say like you generate new alert and you take up an action for the same too. See conditions and you have an action too. So let me say this is the service that we are going to use, and add a condition. Select the signal type, let it go with a metrics, okay, or anything. Let me say if there is a CPU time, okay, the metrics that you have, you can set the CPU time with the metrics, let's say greater than a minimum of, okay, threshold value which is set to be 1 second. Of course, it's going to happen, no? You say when the minimum CPU time is greater than 1 second, for an aggregation of 5 minutes with every 1 minute of frequency, you click on done. So this is your condition that you're representing, and we will put up an action there. So let's say what action it has to perform. We already have like you have 2 emails which gets generated with the when there's an outage that happens by the application inside that it gets collected. Or you can even say create a new action group. You create an action group here. I will say ICSS action group. It's a demo kind of stuff. And we shall say it has to generate a notification. So send an email, okay, and you can select to the owner, right? Let's enable the common alert schema, and you can click on OK. So this is one kind of thing. Or the other way to keep it secured with alert is that you say send an email. You get it like this. You just select email. I'll give up my email ID here. Right? Let's select the email ID and I'll click on OK. So this generates the email for you. Let's say demo ICSS. And next is set to be your action. The action type, let's say it's going to be with the runbook. Okay, if you need, you can define it, or you can even leave it like the default one. So let's remove this action, and I'll try creating this now. So this is without an app inside. There are few telemetrics where you can keep your application to be secure and to be available for your customers too. So the point is that let's make it simple. This is just for a demo, but then let's speak in a practical way. When the CPU utilization goes beyond like 90% or something, no, you want to keep your alert to be generated saying that your CPU goes with a spike and you need to do an auto scaling or you need to take up an action for that as such, right? So those kind of things can be achieved with this alert rule. So I will say rule 1, a demo rule, and the severity that you can set, and let's say create an alert rule now. So there we go, a rule which gets created there. So once when the rule gets created, you can find it here, and we will also get an email whenever the CPU utilization goes beyond like 1%. Let me try refreshing this. See, all good, you have no alerts. And there's like one alert rule which we created too. You can find it here. So this is how you can go up with keeping your application to be with a secure way. Okay, it might be related to the crash reports, or it might be like testing on the assemblies that we have. So we join hands having your dev, and you also have hands joining with the security team too. Cool. So that's the takeaway on this application performance that we had. And I would request you to get this form to be completed to win goodies. You can just go with the URL right now, and you have the session number, right? If not, we will keep it pinged on the chat. You can also keep me written on the chat, or you can keep your mic to be turned on, and you can let me know if you have any questions, please. The session number is set to be, I hope you people know, 58 5 another 545. Okay, it's 58545. So get this form to be filled to win goodies. And you can please let me know if you have any questions. Cool. We have the form which has been shared by the by Kamlesh. I would request you people to please get the form to be completed.
Thanks, Feroz, for the great session. Yeah, use this form and use the session number 58545 to participate in the raffle.
Well, my pleasure, Kamlesh. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for our sponsors too, helping us all way to host this event with a big day. And thank you very much for you people as well, spending your time with us on the weekend. And the next session is going to be with a deep dive into Azure AD with B2C of custom policies. We will be excited to see you over there.
Thank you, everyone.